So we are done with somatic death, we are done with cellular death. Up next, we have brain death. Now, brain death is such an important topic that you need to be clear with the concept even till the level of super speciality. And right now, if you go on YouTube and try to search for difference between coma and brain death, you'll find many videos. You'll go through them and then you are going to be left unsatisfied. But trust me, in the next 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, if you listen carefully to me, I will make sure that the difference between coma and brain death is going to be crystal clear for you. I'll start from basics, the anatomy itself. So the central nervous system contains brain and brainstem. The brain is lined by the cerebral cortex, while the brainstem contains the respiratory center, vasomotor center, and reticular fibers. The cerebral cortex is responsible for higher mental function. Yes, the same higher mental function test that you apply while performing nervous system examination in your clinical bedside. While the respiratory center of the brainstem is responsible for breathing, vasomotor center of brainstem is responsible for circulation and blood pressure, reticular fibers of the brainstem is responsible for consciousness. Now, be it hypoxia, trauma, poisoning, pathology, whatever be the cause, if that leads to damage of cerebral cortex, there is loss of higher mental function. But the breathing and circulation are still intact. And since the person is still breathing, there is still circulation. That means the person is not truly dead. And this is coma. In coma, the person goes through cortical death, which is not true death. So what is coma? Coma is a loss of higher mental function or a degradation of higher mental function due to damage of cerebral cortex, also referred to as cortical death, where the person is not truly dead. He is still alive because the breathing is intact and circulation is also intact. On the other hand, if brainstem gets damaged, there is damage of respiratory center and loss of breathing, damage of vasomotor center and loss of circulation, and damage of reticular fibers and loss of brain function. And you must remember the triad, right? The cessation of breathing, cessation of circulation, cessation of brain function is what you legally define to be death. That is, brainstem death is true brain death. Cortical death is not true death. It is just a person in comatose condition where there is either loss of higher mental function or degraded higher mental function. Now let me show you a flowchart to make the concept clear. So, be it hypoxia, trauma, toxins, it leads to brain damage. After a brain damage, the person will become unconscious. Now, to truly determine whether the person is truly unconscious or not, you need to carry out arousal test. What is arousal test? See, if a person is truly unconscious, even when you try to arouse the person, stimulate the person will not wake up. But if a person is not truly unconscious, if you give arousal, if you arouse the person, if you give stimulus, the person will wake up. For example, if the person is sleeping, he is not truly unconscious. At that time, if you give stimulus to this person, the person will arise. For example, a sleeping person, you say, wake up, wake up. Your sound will travel through his ear, then the auditory nerve, and then finally reaches the cortex, and then he will wake up. Or let's say you put cold water onto that person, then that will go through reticular fibers and then the cerebral cortex, and then he will wake up. Or let's say you even if that doesn't work, you apply pain, you give stimulus of pain. For example, rubbing the sternum with the knuckles of your hand, that may wake the person up. If providing stimulus wakes the person up, that means he is not truly unconscious and the arousal is present. But even after providing all that stimulus, you tell wake up, you put water, cold water, you inflict pain, the person does not wake up. That means the person is truly unconscious. And this unconsciousness can either be due to damage to cerebral cortex, as I said earlier, or the damage of brainstem. If there is damage to cerebral cortex, that leads to coma. And in coma, there is loss of higher mental function. But since the brainstem is still intact, the respiration, breathing, and circulation is intact. So this is referred to as cortical death, which is not true death. Now, this has three possible outcomes. Cortical death has three possible outcomes. Either the person will recover. See, the person is recovering. If a person was truly dead, he would never recover. True death is irreversible. It is irreversible, permanent cessation of breathing, circulation, and brain function. If he was truly dead, he would never come back to life. Or cortical death would lead to vegetative state. If vegetative state is where the person is conscious but unaware. See, cortical death is where the person was unconscious. Now, cortical death might lead to more chronic vegetative state where the person is conscious but is unaware of the surrounding. Or it might worsen to brain death where the person is actually dead, which brings us to brainstem damage. Now, if the brainstem gets damaged, then there is no control to breathing, there is no control to circulation. But if the person is kept in ventilator, then with the help of ventilation, he can breathe. And you know that the heart shows autorhythmicity. It produces its own cardiac impulse, so it will contract, it will keep on contracting. There will be circulation even after brain death. Okay, but there is a limit. Within 4 hours, the heart will die. Within 6 hours, the lungs will die. Within 12 hours, the liver will die. Within 12 hours, your intestines will die. Within 18 hours, your pancreas will die. And within 36 hours, your kidney will die. Because see, the heart will die. It will stop pumping. There won't be circulation to the rest of the body. So the rest of the organs will start dying as well. And this is irreversible. And this is your brain death. See, even in brain death, the person is dead. The person has lost his brain functions, but the organs are still alive for a certain period of time. And within this period of time, you can transplant that organ. So you can convey the bad news to the family that the person is brain dead, and then request them or ask their permission for organ harvesting. And again, autonomy. It's up to them whether they want to donate the organs or not. But then before confirming brain death, you have to go through certain steps to truly diagnose, examine, and declare brain death. So the diagnosis requires prerequisites, then examination, then apnea test, and finally ancillary test. In prerequisites, the brainstem unconsciousness should not be due to hypothermia, CNS suppressant, metabolic causes, intoxication, or ventilatory support. There should not be ventilatory support. Then examination. Since brainstem is damaged, obviously the reflexes under the control of brainstem are gonna be lost. There is loss of corneal reflex, there is loss of pupillary reflex, and the loss of gag reflex. Apnea test. See, if the person is brain dead, his brainstem is gone, but if he is still attached to ventilator, he will still be able to breathe. So you want to know whether he is dead or not. So you remove ventilator and see whether the person stops breathing, whether there is fall in SpO2 or not. If there is fall in SpO2, that means apnea test positive and he is brain dead. And finally, if you are not sure with apnea test as well, you can perform ancillary test where you simply look at the circulation of blood to your brain through angiography or Doppler. And that is after performing all these that you can finally verify brain death.